Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, this is not a cross stitch video, so you can completely disregard this video. I will be back for a normal cross stitch video on the 6th of January. This video is for my previous Etsy customers that used to purchase diamond paint and putty. So diamond painting is a different craft completely. And when I shut the shop, I felt like I'd let a lot of people down because I didn't really give anybody any notice when I shut the shop. So I promised that I would make a video of how to actually make this putty so people don't go without once they run out of the ones that they bought from me. So yeah, if you're not interested in putty and you're just interested in cross stitch, this is just a one-off video for my old customers to show them how to make this. Okay, if you're here for the putty, I will give you a little bit of a background about me if you never purchased from me when the shop was open. So my Etsy shop was open for about almost 2 years, I believe, a year and a half. And then a couple of months ago I opened TikTok, so I had a TikTok shop as well. I have been making this particular putty of my own for a good couple of years now before I started selling it. I'm going to try and keep this video very, very short and very simple, so if you want to come back to it, like if you need to replay it, you can do, and you don't have to troll through loads of conversations. So I have purchased a couple of things that should make this easier for people, because when I was making it on the scale that I was for the shop, I was bulk buying. But if you want to make it just for yourself, because you can follow this along as well if you want to make it for a side hustle, you know, if you want to start selling your own putty, you're more than welcome to take my method, my ideas, etc. and make it. But if you want to make it just for yourself, I wanted to try and get things on a smaller level. I hope that makes sense. Right, so we'll get straight into it, no more talking, and let's make some putty. So first of all, I'm going to show my actual putty. So this was the one that I used to sell in the store, and I used to do mine in like a marble effect, you would say. So this is what we're going to be making today, this exact same one, although I think I've got the wrong mica powder colour, but this is exactly what we're going to be making today. This was what my packaging used to look like. I would have the name of the shop, obviously Centre Putty, and then the name of the scent because I did multiple. And then on the back, this is very, very important if you're going to resell this. Where you buy your scents from, any good company will have documentation for what is in each scent. If you cannot access that, I do not recommend you buy it, and I highly recommend that you put the ingredients on the back of every, different scent that you make. The reason for that is because if somebody has an allergic reaction to the putty, it's very, very important that you put these on, because people are allergic to certain things. And with putty, sometimes you're going to be picking this up with your hands. It's going to be like direct skin contact with your fingers. So I always made sure, and I believe this is an actual regulation that you need to have in the UK. I don't know about the US, but I know here in the UK that this must be present on the packaging. So I always had the name of the fragrance and then the ingredients, and then at the bottom, may cause an allergic reaction. And I used to make these labels myself, but you can, I believe on the websites that you get fragrances from, I believe you can buy the actual labels with the ingredients on for each scent. So it's worth looking into. It's very, very important if you're going to sell it on. If you're not and you're just going to use it for yourself, please, before you purchase a fragrance, take a look at the ingredients if you are allergic to anything. Because not only that, when you're making it, you're going to have direct contact with your fingers and your skin. So yeah, you definitely need to. Right, so first of all, let's just do the fragrances. The one that is here is Raspberry Mojito, and I'm going to show you, I think it's 4 companies that I used to buy that I would recommend. This brand here I would recommend. They're very, very strong scents. It's Nakura. These are all UK companies, and it is Raspberry Mojito. Now you can get these tiny little, I think they call them samplers, 10 millilitres. This is all you need. If you're just doing it for yourself, this is literally all you need, because all we're going to be doing is put one drop in at a time. They have to be fragrance oils, cannot be essential oils. Essential oils do not work in putty. Well, in my experience, they do not work. There is another brand called Pure Scented, which I used to use an awful lot. They have some really fun different scents there, especially for Halloween and Christmas. I think they have some really nice seasonal ones there. Those two companies, you can also get the CLP labels. This company, I don't know if it exists anymore. I know Dragon's Blood, the actual fragrance from them, doesn't exist anymore, but it is Craftivator. I tried to buy this when I was still doing the shop, and it said that it had been discontinued, but I can't remember if it was the entire store or if it was just that scent. And then there is another shop called Crafty Full. When you've got a big bottle like this, I recommend that you get a pipette, because you're only going to be needing a drop at a time. So this size bottle I wouldn't recommend to someone just doing it at home. I would recommend bottles like this. But if you are looking into, you know, making your own shop, then yeah, go for it. But get some pipettes, because it will be way too difficult. Okay, next up we've got obviously putty. The only thing that's really important with putty that I have found is that it doesn't have a smell. So some of these have a chemical smell to them. You want one that is pure white, ideally, if you want to change the colour, and you want one that does not have a scent. So when you first get one, well, just buy one at a time. If you're going to bulk buy, I wouldn't recommend it to start with. Just peel it back and see if there's any sort of chemical smell. It should be, like, I can't smell a thing. It should be completely unscented. If it has a chemical smell, it will react with the scents that you put in. It doesn't make them last. I have had some that have had a chemical smell that I've tried before, and the performance is fine if that's all you care about, if you're not going to add fragrances, but over time it wears the fragrance smell out, and then you can start smelling this chemical smell again. So this one, I believe I bought this from Temu just to see what it would look like, and how it would come out, and I think the packs were about £1.80 each. The brand of this one says Clown Frog, which I know is a good brand because I used to use Clown Frog when I bought in bulk. But this actual one on the Temu website, I didn't see this package. It literally just had a picture of like the plain white one. This might be quite difficult to find one that doesn't have the chemical smell. You might have to order from a couple of places just to test. But ideally what you want is one with no smell, pure white, and one that doesn't break easily. So when you pull it apart, it has that good, like, stringy, it doesn't just snap straight away. You want one that isn't too stiff. So I'm going to wobble my camera. It also depends on the temperature. If you've got somewhere cold, like where I am today, it's pretty cold. These have been in a cupboard. This is fine. It is breaking, but it's not like, I'm not pulling one square off of this and it's just snapping. So yeah, this is fine because it will warm up in your hand. Okay, now you obviously need some mica powder if you want to change the colour. I don't use much because of the way I do the marbling. Any mica powder that doesn't have a chemical smell. Some mica powders do. There was one that I had, I think it was in a pink bottle, and it smelled really bad of chemicals, so I had to stop using it because it was affecting the scent of the fragrance. But this one doesn't have a smell at all. You can use packets like this, you can use bottles, tubs, doesn't matter. A lot of the times when I do this, I tip a bit out onto the table and I will just roll the putty in it instead of trying to dunk it into the package. And then the most important thing is the powder. Now, I have always used arrowroot powder. A lot of people don't like to tell you what powder they buy or what they use when they make putty. A lot of people will say that they use cornstarch, or if you're in the UK, corn flour. I never recommend corn flour. So corn flour will dull the fragrance that you pick. Arrowroot amplifies smells. So it works very similar to corn flour, like when you're using it for cooking purposes, it works quite similar, but this amplifies scents. And this is why it's perfect with putty. Now, I picked up a pack, I think it's like a 5-pack of sachets from Tesco for £1.10, just to show you that you can buy this stuff anywhere. You can get it in big bulk in places like Amazon. But if you're only doing it just for yourself and you're not looking to resell this, you will literally only need these sachets. And a little pot. So this is my kid's old school lunch pot. And I will be putting the putty into there. Not the putty, the powder. We'll do that now for you so I can show you. They do have an expiry date, but it's a very long one, look. I mean, 2026, so that's fine. So we'll get the powder into the pot. There's not much in these sachets, but you don't exactly need much, if I'm honest. So, yeah, that is all you're going to need if you're doing this for just yourself. Okay, so like I said, this arrowroot powder is the most important thing. Sorry. I will tell you now that not all fragrances work with putty. I would suggest, if you don't have any at home already to play around with, to buy a couple. There has been a couple of scents in the past that I have planned on using for the shop that just, no matter what I did with it, it didn't want to work. That sometimes, so going back to the active ingredients on the back, sometimes certain ingredients just do not work. They won't work, they will not work, just don't bother. If you make a putty and it comes out too stringy, to like a wet feeling, too dry, I would then recommend that you don't use that scent again, or maybe try it one more time with a different method, and if it still comes out the same, then it is the fragrance. It's not the putty, and it's not this powder. I have done a test with this powder, and the fragrances that I know that work, I have put putty in a drawer for well over a year, opened it, and it still smells exactly the same. I've had customers like tell me now that the putty that they bought from me originally when the shop opened over a year ago still smell exactly the same. So this powder is the best. I would recommend it. It is the best. I have tried so many different types of powder, and this one is the best. Arrowroot powder, and you can buy it in bulk on eBay, Etsy, you know, other places if you want to open your own store. Okay, you will also need somewhere to do this. It gets quite messy. You will need something to roll the putty. So I do not use any of this stuff that I'm using in this video for food. So make sure that you've got something that you can use solely for putty or for crafts in general that isn't going to go next to food again, because especially if it's wooden, it will absorb the fragrance oil and you don't want that in your food. And then to package it, so this packaging here that sits in the bag, I have this giant roll of parchment paper. I definitely recommend, this is where I would say spend the most money if you're going to resell. You do not want to go out and buy the cheap Tesco, you know, Asda, or if you're overseas, like the cheap supermarket baking paper, it will rip. So you've got to remember that with your diamond painting pens, they're metal tips. Once you're pushing on the putty, you're also pushing on this paper, and it will rip, and it'll be a bit of a mess. And putty lasts quite a long time if you use it correctly. Well, I know my putty lasts quite a long time, so you're going to be using this paper quite a lot. You want a really decent putty, not putty. paper. This one I bought off of Amazon, I believe. So it's 50 meters of non-stick baking parchment paper. I did used to have a really nice parchment paper. It's really thick. That was from Amazon as well, but it was unavailable when I bought this one. I don't know if it says anything else that I can help you with to show you. No, it doesn't. But just get yourself a really good quality parchment paper. Okay. Right, so we are obviously, like I said, going to be making raspberry mojito today. So we need the raspberry mojito scent, the powder. I will just get all the other stuff out of the way. I'm going to use the one that I ripped up. And we will need the mica powder. Now, I'm going to roll my sleeves up and I'm going to take my jewellery off. You don't have to, but it's just easier for me. Okay, take the lid off. Right, what I want to do is get some... I think I'll just leave this open. So sometimes I would get a bowl for the mica powder, depending on what it's in. Sometimes I would dip it straight in, which is what I'm going to do today, just for the purpose of showing you all of this stuff. Right, so the first of all is to knead your putty a bit more and warm it up. Oh God, warm it up with your fingers. The putty will get quite hot, which can be a problem if you're making a lot of these. So this is exactly how I made it for the shop. Every single one was hand rolled. I never made putty in batches, so you have to be careful how many you make in a day, because with the heat and the friction, you can cause yourself blisters. So once that's all together, I'm going to take, it's very sticky, which is a really good sign. That's what we want to start with. I'm going to take 1 drop of raspberry mojito. That was 2. That's fine. So what that means is I only use 3 drops, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Every putty gets 3 drops of fragrance, so it's already had 2. And what I do is I mix it in a little bit. Let me take our arrowroot powder, not corn flour. I don't want to see anyone using corn flour. It makes it too dry and it doesn't smell very nice. Well, the smell doesn't smell as nice. It doesn't amplify the fragrances that you're putting in. It dulls it, and then you need to put more of the fragrance in. Completely cover it. It's best if you mix it over the bowl of the flour or the arrowroot powder, because if not, it's a bit of a pain. You need that all well combined, all the powder well combined, until it starts feeling a bit sticky again. Now, I will say, with mica powder, if you've done what I just did and accidentally put 2 drops in, and you put, I don't know, you put 4 or 5 drops in instead of 3 altogether. Mica powder is really good at bringing back a stick. So if you put too much fragrance in, it loses the stick. If you put too much arrowroot in, it can make it dry and lose the fragrance slightly. I mean, because I was selling mine, I like them all to be very similar. But if you're just doing this at home, it doesn't really matter. Right, so that's gone sticky again. Because I did 2 drops, I'm going to dunk it back in here to level out the amount. So sometimes if you put too much powder, it can start to rip when you do this. But mica powder is a very good thing to counterbalance it. It kind of makes it re-sticky again. So if you've put too much fragrance in and it's lost its stickiness, so to speak. Like, it's hard to explain on video because I just know now, like, because I can feel it and I've done it for so long, I just know when to fix it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I can feel this now getting stickier again. So we will put our final drop in, and nearly did another one as well. So yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but when it starts, is it gonna focus? When it starts looking like that and it just breaks easily without being elastic, you don't want that. So if it looks like that, you need to put more powder in, or, like I said, counteract it with a little bit of mica powder. So you want it to be like a lot stringier. You want the string to last a bit longer. So we will carry on. When I used to make this for the shop, I would only give myself an hour a day, because doing this for a couple of hours a day is not good for your hands. And please, please, please make sure whatever fragrance you use, you're not allergic to it, because you need direct skin contact with this stuff. And I have had an allergic reaction to a fragrance before, and it's not fun. It makes your hands come up in these all sorts of horrible bumps. Okay. So we need another powder. Sometimes, once you've been doing this for a little while, you don't always need the 3x3 method of like 3 drops of fragrance, 3 drops of powder. Sometimes you'll need more powder, sometimes you'll need more fragrance. Once you get to a consistency that you like, I would stick with it. So if the best way to do it is just do 1 drop of fragrance, 1 dab of powder until you find, until you find something that works for you. I wouldn't go straight in with so much fragrance, like 3, 4, 5 drops at once, because you can't change it, what you've put in. You can add more, but you can't take away, is what I'm trying to say. So this still feels quite sticky to me, so I might just dab it at once. Again, because these Nakura scents are very, very strong. They are brilliant, they really are. Sometimes you do need to alter it a bit. I think Tropical Sorbet, my old scent Tropical Sorbet, was one of the ones that caused me a lot of problems. And then it could go the other way, where you could barely smell them. So I think it was Peppermint Dream was a bit of a pain for me. Okay, that feels pretty good to me. You still want it to be sticky, but you don't want it to be sticking to your hands, if that makes sense. You want it to be sticky when you push down on it, so it's stuck to my thumb now, but you want it to be movable when you're just touching it normally, okay? It's the best, it's the best way to explain it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll this into a sausage, because I don't want to tipple this all over my side, and I'm just going to dip it in like that, okay? And then I'm going to twist, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do. Now I'm going to get a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to roll this. Typically what I would do with this when I was doing it for the shop is I would move to a clean surface. So I'd have 2 surfaces. I'd have the one that was messy that I was making it on, and then on the other side of the room I would have laid out a big sheet of parchment paper ready for all the putty, and next to it I would have 2 pieces like this. I wonder if I can just get that out of the way. I would have had 2 pieces like this that were there ready for the roll. So push that down a little bit. And then we get our rolling pin, and don't push hard. Gently roll it back and forth to the thickness that you want, I suppose. I mean, I kind of automatically know what thickness I want. So, and there is your putty. Now, if you're just doing this for yourself, it's done. Get some paper that fits it, fold it over. You know, I like to have mine in one full piece, so I don't cut it in half. This is just one full piece folded over. But you can do it however you want, or you could cut it. Now, what I do with, obviously, this was a full-sized one for the shop. I used to just cut around the edges, make it look nice and neat. They were all different sizes. They all come out different sizes, you know, it depends. And I also used to make minis. So a mini would be, I'd trim the edges and then I'd cut it in half. So I'll show you that. So I would just go to the closest part that was neat. And if it wasn't very big, so let me pick this one. These are two different sizes now, so this is what I mean by they were never guaranteed to be the same size every time. Because this one isn't very big, and this is the kind of size I liked, I would have probably, if my shop was still open, I would have gone like that. That's 1 mini, is what I used to sell. And then I would have cut this one up for free samples. So I would have just, 1, 2, 3 samples. I hope that makes sense. So I hope this has been as fast as possible and as easy as possible. You can do this at home with very little. The main thing that I would say is to make sure that you get a putty with no scent whatsoever that's white, that you buy your fragrances from somewhere that can show you the CLP labels that you're able to download for free, like then and there. You get yourself some good parchment paper, and arrowroot is a secret ingredient. 100%, don't use another powder. If it doesn't work the first time that you try this, don't change the powder. Change the fragrance, change the putty, just don't change the powder. Okay, I think that is everything. Oh, if you like these bags that I bought, these are called mylar bags. I think everyone knows that. I used to buy them from Amazon just because they were fast shipping, and I used to sell out with them quite a lot, and I used to run out of them quite a lot. These labels are thermal printed labels. You can get your own labels designed online on this app. I think it's called the Sticker app or Sticker Me, something like that. It's an app where you can design your own stickers and then get them delivered to you. You could do it that way if you want to sell these. But if you have a thermal printer, I'd really recommend getting some labels and just downloading an app and designing your own, because it's so much more cost effective. Once you have finished, you've got your finished product, what I would recommend you do, put it in a mylar bag or a resealable bag. It has to be a resealable bag because you'll lose the fragrance for 24 hours at least before you test it. And the reason why I say that is because when you're making this stuff, it comes out different. So this one is cold. It's rested for God knows how long. Still smells strong. This one feels quite warm because we've just made it. This one will be more stringy, more harder to use right now because we've just made it. If you're testing this for an Etsy shop or anything like that, leave it for a full day before you call it a write-off, because there has been times before where I've made one and I've tested it straight away because I've got too impatient and then it hasn't worked very well. I thought it was a failure, and then the next day I've used my pen forgetting that this was in there and it's worked. So give yourself a day, or give the putty a day to rest before you resell it, use it for yourself, Just put it in the mylar bag. If it's not resealable, I don't know how long it will last. I've never, not resealed this stuff, so I can't guarantee that the scent will stay if they're not resealable. So yeah, that is everything. Thank you very much for watching, and happy diamond painting. I hope this has helped everybody that used to purchase from me. I know everybody used to say that this putty helped with their ABs. There is, of course, other sellers if you still want to buy your own putty. Everyone's putty, I will say, is different. Every seller has a different way of doing things. Some do it by batch making. Some do it like me, where they do each one individually. Everyone uses different ingredients. I strongly recommend the arrowroot powder. I've tried all of the others, and that is the one that I find that is by far the best. A lot of people have said to me that they prefer my putty for ABs. I don't know if that is a thing, it could be. I used to use mine for everything, but I did find that it was really good with ABs. So if that's something that you're looking for and you want a putty that isn't too dry, isn't too stringy, this is the one that I would recommend. So thank you very much, and I will see you, I don't know when I'll see you, because yeah, I don't diamond paint anymore, but I just hope this has helped. Bye bye.